The 1960s was when action figures really began to take off. Society was evolving and new technologies were emerging, and action figures were becoming more advanced and more detailed than ever before. Not just plastic, but also a bit of articulation and a wider variety of character design. So, here are our top five most popular action figures of the 1960s. The 1960s were when the Hasbro toy company introduced the humongous 12-inch G.I. Joe action figure that represented the average American soldier, and it was marketed towards boys, of course, and was incredibly popular and became a cultural icon. It was a way for children to learn about the military as well as the world around them. The Beatles were one of the most popular music groups of the 1960s, and their action figures were highly sought after by fans of all ages. And there were a wide variety of them, including the ones you see on your screen that have those humongous heads that look a little bit more like bobbleheads. The figures were produced by Remco, and they featured detailed clothing and accessories, as well as the iconic Beatles hairstyles. The Beatles action figures were a hit with both children and adults and helped spark the imagination of generations. Batman action figures were incredibly popular in the 1960s due to the comic books as well as the TV series of the same name starring the titular Adam West. The figures were produced by Mego and featured the iconic costume and accessories of the Caped Crusader. Batman action figures were a hit with both children and adults and helped spark their imagination. James Bond action figures of the 1960s continued a trend of being quite huge and having almost no articulation, convincing generations of mothers that action figures are just dolls in disguise, much to the chagrin of their children. The action figures were produced by Gilbert, not to be confused with Gilbert Gottfried. No, I'm talking about a company named Gilbert, and they featured detailed clothing and accessories, as well as the iconic gadgetry associated with the Bond character. James Bond action figures were a hit with everyone and helped spark their imagination so they could also pretend that they were super secret spies. Although the Munsters first hit the big screen way back in the 1930s, they came back again in the 1960s as their more loony selves, and their action figures were highly sought after by fans. The figures were produced by Remco, and they featured detailed clothing and accessories and the iconic Munster hairstyles. The Munsters action figures were a hit, and the toys have even gone into reproduction in recent years, so grab one today.